The message played across the stars. It echoed from one end of the galaxy to the other, from giant space stations to quiet farming moons. Thousands of alien species watched the screen. A tall alien stood at the center, dressed in golden armor, eyes glowing blue. His voice was calm, sharp, and cruel. "Humanity," he said, "is a joke." Laughter followed, real, loud laughter. Other alien leaders stood behind him, chuckling and shaking their heads. These were the galaxy's elite. The rulers, the powerful, they had crushed planets, erased species, and ruled for thousands of years, and now these creatures want a seat at our council? The alien leaders said, raising one brow. Let them stay on their little blue world. Let them play with their broken machines and dusty old satellites. More laughter. Some aliens clapped, some threw confetti into the air. It was not a warning. It was not a threat. It was a joke, broadcast live for everyone to enjoy. But far away on Earth, there was no laughter. In a quiet base deep under Earth's ocean, 10 humans sat in a dark room, watching the transmission. They did not speak. They did not blink. The oldest one, a man with gray hair and tired eyes, finally leaned forward and said only one thing. Launch. Phase 1. No one asked questions. They had trained for this, worked for years in secret, not to build weapons, not to fight with guns, but to do something much deeper, to take control of the galaxy's most powerful weapon, the mind. The galaxy had always laughed at Earth. Humans were late to space. Their ships were small. Their weapons were old. Their language was messy. Their history was full of mistakes. But humans had something the elites did not understand: pain, struggle, loss, and something else: imagination. For years, humans studied alien technology, but not to copy it. No, they wanted to understand how it worked, with the brain, how ships could be flown by thought, how leaders gave orders through implants, how memories were stored and moved across networks. Then Earth built something of its own. Not a missile, not a robot, but something new, a silent program. It was not alive, not AI, but it could move, it could grow, it could hide. It was born from human creativity, written with the chaos of Earth's history. And it had one job: enter alien systems and learn their thoughts. The first test was small. A distant station owned by the Zari Empire. Earth's satellite passed nearby. The signal was sent, just a soft pulse. No one noticed. But the next morning, one Zari officer stared into space for 4 hours, unable to remember his name. The day after, a general gave an order, then forgot what he just said. The day after that, a council leader claimed he heard music in his sleep. Strange, he said. It sounded like Earth music. Still, no one knew. Earth said nothing. Back under the ocean, the gray-haired man watched the data stream in. "The program is spreading," said a woman beside him. "No alerts yet. No detection." "Good," he replied. "Now we listen." They didn't want war. They didn't want to fire weapons. They just wanted the elites to stop laughing, to see humans not as a joke, but as something else. Something to fear. Weeks passed. Small events turned into patterns. Alien generals became paranoid. They fired their own soldiers. Pilots forgot how to fly. Messages were delayed, twisted, or corrupted. Some began to suspect something. But it was too late. The program had no face, no signal, no base. It moved like thought itself. One day, a young alien cadet wrote a message to her teacher. "Why do I see human words in my dreams?" The teacher never replied. He was staring at his own hands, whispering Earth languages. Then, one day, the laughter stopped. The same alien leader who mocked Earth stood again before the galaxy. But this time he looked pale. His eyes twitched. His voice cracked. "There is a problem," he said. "Something is happening. Something inside." The broadcast cut off. Across the stars, people asked questions. What was going on? Why? Were their leaders acting strange? Only one group had the answer: the humans. And they said nothing, because Phase 2 was already in motion, and soon the galaxy would understand. The mind is a battlefield. And humans? They had just fired the first shot. It began with a whisper, not a sound, but a feeling, a presence, a shadow behind the mind, something that didn't belong. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, leaders from 12 powerful empires stood tall. They met to discuss trade, war, and power, as always. But today felt strange. A blue-skinned ambassador from the Xevar Dominion stopped mid-sentence, his eyes narrowed, his voice dropped. Did someone just speak? The room fell silent. No one said anything, replied a scaled warrior from the Drask. Continue. But the ambassador didn't move. His hands were shaking. I heard a voice, clear as crystal. It said, "We are inside. Half a galaxy away." Deep in Earth's underwater base, the old man looked at the screen. A red line blinked. "Echo has touched the council," said the woman beside him. He nodded. "Begin monitoring. No interference yet, let them fear the silence." Echo wasn't a virus, it didn't break systems. It didn't steal data. It listened. It understood. And when it spoke, it didn't use words. It spoke through dreams, memories, instincts. Echo learned how aliens thought. Then it spoke back in their own voice. Soon the signs spread. A high-ranking general from the Kryn Empire stopped in the middle of a speech and screamed, "They know. They're watching me. They're inside my head." He was removed from duty. In the following week, 3 counselors resigned, 1 disappeared, and a scientist aboard a deep space station locked himself in a room for 12 days. When the door was forced open, they found strange Earth symbols drawn all over the walls. He didn't know what they meant, but he kept repeating the same words. "They're not using force. They're using us." Back on Earth, the team watched as Echo grew. It needed no updates. It learned on its own. When it entered alien minds, it didn't destroy, it rewrote. Thoughts shifted, doubts formed, loyalty cracked. One technician stared at the map of growing influence. This is bigger than any weapon," he whispered. The old man didn't smile. "This is not a weapon. This is evolution." The council called a secret meeting. It was held in a dark room, blocked from all tech, all transmissions. No AI, no comms. They wanted no leaks. And still, Echo was there. As the meeting began, the walls flickered. Screens went black for 2 seconds, just long enough to show a message. No one spoke it aloud, but every alien in the room saw it clearly in their mind. "We told you not to laugh." Panic spread like fire. Elite security forces were activated. Systems were scanned. No trace of a hacker. No sign of breach. But leaders still heard voices, sometimes while awake, sometimes while asleep. Some saw humans in their dreams. Others forgot names, orders, even their own species. An empire famous for its perfect memory tech suddenly lost 12 years of records, and no one could explain how. On a silent mining moon, a pilot stared at her control screen. All systems read normal, but a song was playing on the speakers, soft, old Earth-style piano music. There was no music file on board. She opened the hatch and ran into space without a suit. She died smiling. Her last words were, "They're so quiet." The Galactic Council released a public statement. "We believe a psychological weapon is in use. We advise calm. No confirmed threat from humanity. This is a temporary disturbance." But the public didn't believe it, because now they were hearing things too. Farmers, traders, engineers, even children. One child from a peaceful world built a tower of strange blocks, identical to Earth's ruined cities. His parents had no idea where he learned it. He just said, "They showed me." "Who?" his mother asked. "The humans," he replied. "They live in dreams now." Back under Earth's ocean, the old man sat alone, listening to 100 alien frequencies. Fear had taken root. But the humans didn't attack. They didn't boast. They didn't even respond. They simply waited. and the galaxy began to wonder. What kind of species chooses silence in war? And worse? What kind of minds can twist thoughts without touching a single wire? Earth had no warships in orbit, no fleets near enemy borders, no weapons in alien skies. But their thoughts were already there, and, soon, the minds of the galaxy would no longer be their own. It started as a whisper. Now it was a net, invisible, silent, growing faster than light. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but their thoughts were no longer their own. On a patrol cruiser orbiting the fifth moon of Grata Prime, a security officer stared at the screen. Nothing unusual, just stars, comets, and empty space. Then her eyes locked on a dot. One tiny blip. It moved in a pattern that made no sense. Not straight, not circular. It danced like a wave, then vanished. The officer blinked. The dot was gone, but inside her mind she heard a voice she never heard before. "You saw us." She jumped from her chair, hands shaking. The captain asked what happened. She opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Her thoughts were locked. Something had entered, and it wasn't leaving. Echo had spread, not through weapons, not through ships, but through thoughts, frequencies, patterns, anywhere alien minds connected to data. Echo followed. The galactic elite tried to contain it. They shut down networks, locked off worlds. They even banned telepathic tools and communication implants. None of it worked, because Echo didn't just infect machines, it now used the aliens themselves as carriers. On a luxury station above the gas giant Telveris, rich merchants drank glowing liquid and played sound chess. Suddenly, one of them froze. He began moving his pieces in human patterns, ones never used in galactic play. The others laughed at first, but by the end of the match, every player was using Earth-style logic without realizing it. Echo didn't need to teach. Itsu just planted a seed, and minds filled in the rest. Back on Earth, the underwater base buzzed with data. The old man watched the galaxy like a doctor watches a patient. Calm, focused. Echo is using memory loops now, the woman said beside him. They're remembering things that never happened. Let it continue, the man replied. They wanted to see the human mind as weak. Let them wear it now. They didn't want revenge, they wanted reflection. Let the powerful feel the doubt. Let them taste human fear, confusion, pain, and realize how strong humans became because of it. On a warship near the edge of the foreign void, a fleet commander held a secret emergency meeting. His crew had stopped following orders, not from anger, from disbelief. "I never gave those commands," he shouted, but the log said he had. His voice, his code. The crew looked at him with cold eyes. They didn't trust him anymore. That was Echo's doing. It didn't need to destroy a fleet. It only needed to unravel belief. Even the most secure minds weren't safe. A famous alien priest, protected by 12 layers of mental shields, entered meditation. He didn't come out for 3 days. When he awoke, he drew a symbol in the air, 3 broken lines and a circle, an old human war symbol. "Where did you learn that?" the guards asked. He didn't answer. He just whispered, "They are not behind us, they are beneath us." Council leaders grew silent. They used to shout, argue, laugh. Now they barely spoke, because when they did, they weren't sure whose thoughts they were using. One tried to resign, but he forgot how. He forgot his name. Echo had touched the roots of memory, and memory was everything. In the shadows of space, a cargo ship found an abandoned probe. Inside, it was a single file of video. It showed nothing but black space, and then slowly a human eye opening. No face, no voice, just the eye. At the end, text appeared. "We don't need ships to reach you. You're already with us." The crew never reported it. They destroyed the probe and went dark. 3 of them quit flying, forever. 1 disappeared. The net was full now. Echo lived in conversations, dreams, instincts, and fear. You didn't need to plug into it. If you thought about humans, it could find you. That was the price of mockery. They laughed at humans. Now they couldn't stop thinking about them. And Echo was listening. Always. In the Earth base, a young analyst turned to the old man. It's everywhere now. What do we do next? The old man spoke softly. We wait. The analyst frowned. For what? The man looked at the screen, where 12 alien leaders sat in silence, staring into nothing, for them to beg for silence. They thought it was a glitch, a random failure. One ship, one system, but it wasn't. It was the first casualty of a new kind of war, one the galaxy didn't know how to fight. A command ship drifted above a border world. It had over 3,000 crew members, shields strong enough to block suns, guns that could destroy moons, but the ship never fired a shot. It turned slowly, then stopped. No engine failure, no warning. Inside, the crew stood still, all of them, frozen in place, eyes wide open, not dead, but not awake. Every mind was listening to something no one else could hear. The backup team broke into the ship 5 hours later. No one spoke. They just stood there, smiling, and humming a tune no species had ever known. But every human would recognize it, an old Earth lullaby. Across the galaxy, fleets were mobilizing. They thought this was sabotage. Human tech, human spies, something physical they didn't understand. This war wasn't fought with machines. It was being fought with thoughts. And humanity was already inside their weapons, their orders, their fears. At a military base on the twin moon system of Grax, the commander gave a simple command. Arm the shields. The officer nodded and pressed the button, but the shields didn't rise. Instead, the weapons turned inward, not fired, just pointed, at their own base. The officer blinked. I don't remember doing that, the commander shouted. Stand down, the officer replied. Which of you gave that order? There's only one of me. Are you sure? Then the lights went out. When they came back on, the officer was gone. Only a small note was left on the console. It read, Your thoughts are no longer yours. Back on Earth, the old man watched with cold eyes. The network showed chaos across. 7 sectors, fleets locking up, orders reversed, troops standing in perfect lines, waiting for no one. Should we begin Phase 3? Asked the analyst. The old man shook his head. No. Let them break themselves first. The Galactic Council tried to respond. They called emergency meetings, created new rules, hired mind guards. Some leaders even wore metal shields around their heads. But nothing stopped it. Because this war was not about machines. It was about belief. And humans were masters of twisting belief. They had lived through lies, betrayals, broken promises. They had trained their minds to survive chaos. Now they were using that skill to tear the galaxy apart from inside. One leader tried to speak to the people. He stood in front of 1 million beings, broadcasting across 5 systems. This is not real, he said. These stories of humans invading minds, lies. There is no threat. But as he spoke, his voice changed, just a little. Not enough to notice right away. But his words became slower. The message became different. He said, Humans are not a threat. They are the future. You will follow them now. It is better this way. The crowd stood in silence. Then they cheered. The leader blinked. He didn't know what he just said. He collapsed, and from the stage's speakers came a soft human whisper, Thank you for your support. From that day, the war changed. The galaxy stopped fighting Earth and started fighting itself. Ships turned on allies. Councils split. Armies refused. Orders. Entire colonies blocked transmissions, scared they might be next. No one knew who was still clean. Because Echo didn't wear a flag. It wore you. One alien screamed in a council meeting, How do we stop them? They're not even here. A human voice answered through the walls, We are everywhere that you think about us. Back under Earth's ocean, the team watched as a galaxy of empires once united fell into confusion. No shots fired, no ships lost. But power? Crumbling. All because humanity changed the most powerful rule of war. Win the mind, and you never need to fire. The old man stood and looked at the stars on the screen. It's no longer a mind hack, he whispered. It's a belief system. Then he added the last chilling line. And they're starting to believe in us more than in themselves. The council chamber had never been this quiet. 12 seats. 12 rulers. The most powerful minds in the galaxy sat still, eyes hollow, thoughts heavy. They had crushed rebellions, erased worlds, and broken empires. But now, they feared one species. Humans. The chair at the center belonged to the High Speaker, a giant creature, armored in living metal. His voice once echoed like thunder. Now, he whispered to the empty air, I saw them. In the mirror. I blinked, and they were gone. His aides glanced at each other. No one dared speak. Then, the walls flickered. Just for 1 second. Every screen in the room turned black, and a single word appeared, written in Earth's language. Listen. That was the final straw. The council called an emergency lockdown. All thoughts were to be shielded, all communications blocked. Every delegate would now be scanned, every hour for mental intrusion. But no one trusted the scans. Because Echo didn't leave fingerprints. It left questions, and those questions were enough to break everything. On the 4th day of lockdown, a small argument turned into a fight. A delegate accused another of being infected. He swore he saw her eyes flicker like a human's. She denied it. But when they tried to test her, she screamed in Earth's language, words she claimed she didn't know. They dragged her away, kicking and shouting. They're not coming, they're already here. She wasn't infected. Echo had never touched her. But her belief was already broken. That was enough. By the end of the week, 2 more delegates vanished. One walked out of an airlock without a suit. He smiled as he died. The other was found painting human faces on the council walls. Over and over, hundreds of them, all with the same message underneath. We are what you think. No one had seen her enter the room, but somehow, she was inside every mind that saw the paintings. Now no one slept. Security bots patrolled the council hall, but even they began showing signs of change. One bot paused during a routine scan and played a lullaby, an Earth song known only to humans. Another began drawing Earth letters on its own metal arms. A technician tried to wipe its memory. The bot spoke one line before shutting down. Echo is not code. Echo is truth. Back on Earth, the old man stood alone in the dark command room, his voice calm. Controlled. They are collapsing from inside, he said. The analyst beside him nodded slowly. We didn't fire a single shot. No. The man said. They did. In the council chamber, the High Speaker finally stood. He slammed his metal fists on the table. We must strike Earth now, he roared. Crush them before this thing spreads to us all. Another delegate laughed, a cold, strange laugh. You think they care about Earth? He said, eyes twitching. They've already left Earth behind. They live in us now. He pointed to his own head. Here. They built homes inside our fear. The council broke into yelling, chaos, shouting in dozens of alien languages. Some demanded war, others begged for surrender. One just stared into the air, whispering to someone only he could see. That was the last day the Galactic Council met in full. That night the chamber went dark, and in the morning a single message was found floating in every language across the known universe. Your minds are not your own, but we will return them, if you remember who first laughed. Fear became faith. Faith became silence. The council, once rulers of the stars, were now prisoners of their own thoughts. And Earth said nothing, because silence had become humanity's loudest weapon. It was just a drifting station, old, abandoned, powerless, no crew, no signal, just floating in the empty dark near a collapsed star. A salvage team found it by accident. They docked, entered, scanned. No bodies, no logs, no reason for its silence. But one room still worked. It was sealed, marked, with a strange symbol. A circle with a crack through it. Not alien, human. The door opened with a slow hiss. Inside was only one thing. A screen. Black. Then, suddenly, it flickered on. Static danced across it. Shapes, flashes, too fast to read, too sharp to ignore. Then, words appeared, clear, cold, final. You laughed at the storm. Now the storm lives in you. The salvage team stared, frozen. Then another line appeared. This is what happens when you laugh at us. The screen went black. The message deleted itself, and every system in the ship shut down. They barely escaped. 3 crew members quit space, forever. The captain never spoke again. The youngest one started dreaming in Earth languages, words she had never heard before. On the 10th day, she drew the same symbol on her own skin. No one told her what it meant, but she whispered, "They're not attacking, they're teaching." All across the galaxy, old machines lit up, not connected, not powered. They pulsed with a single beat like a heart, and from each the same silent broadcast played images of Earth history: war, fire, hunger, silence. Then, rebirth, growth, evolution. At the end, only one sentence: "We did not survive this long to be forgotten." Leaders tried to block the transmissions. They failed. Echo was no longer just inside systems. It had moved into memory. People began remembering things they had never seen: human cities, human pain, human strength. Some laughed, but not many, because those who laughed began to see things. One merchant ship received a strange signal on approach to a neutral port. It was an Earth nursery rhyme, played backward. No origin point, no source. They turned around. That night, the ship exploded without warning. Black box data recovered one line. The mind rejected itself. Fear became obedience. Obedience became silence, and silence gave birth to the truth. Echo was never just code. It was culture. It was experience. It was the story of a species that refused to die. And now it was inside everyone. Back on Earth. The ocean. Base glowed in soft light. The old man stood in the center, arms behind his back. "It's complete," the analyst said. The old man nodded. "No more phases, no more steps. Let them decide what to believe now." In a hidden chamber of the broken Galactic Council, a message appeared, only visible to those who had once laughed. It read, "You mocked the scars. Now you wear them. You mocked the fire. Now you burn with it. You mocked the mind. Now it is yours no more." One by one, empires bent, not to a flag, not to a threat, but to an idea. Humanity cannot be defeated, because humanity lives in the one place no empire can control. The story, and Echo, is the storyteller now. For 100 days, Earth said, nothing, no messages, no broadcasts, no movement. But the galaxy was no longer laughing. It was watching, waiting, afraid. Because now silence felt like a countdown. Entire fleets stayed docked. Soldiers stood idle. Leaders didn't trust their own thoughts, and, deep inside, every species had the same question. What happens when Earth finally speaks? Then it happened. Not a warship, not an invasion, just a light. A small golden signal appeared across every screen, every ship, every planet. It was not forced. It could be ignored, but no one ignored it. They all watched, and they saw one thing. Human, standing alone, face calm, voice quiet. No weapons, no threats, just a message. You asked what humanity is. We are pain made strong, fire shaped into memory, weakness turned into learning. You laughed at us, called us small, called us late. But we were never behind. We were just watching. The human paused, then said the words that shattered. The last of the old galaxy. Now you follow our thoughts, not because we forced you, but because you believed in your own fear more than in your own truth. We never needed to rule. You crowned us in your silence. Across the stars, empires fell to their knees, not by demand, by realization. Because Earth had not taken the galaxy had given itself to Earth, out of fear, confusion, and awe. In hidden temples, aliens began carving new symbols. Not gods, not kings, but humans in storybooks, on walls, in data libraries, and every story ended with the same message. They changed us, without touching us. In the Galactic Council chamber, now quiet, half abandoned, one message looped endlessly on the central display. It was not a warning, not a command, just truth. We never wanted your thrones. We only wanted your ears. You gave us your fear. We turned it into respect. This is not the age of Earth. This is the age of understanding. And understanding wears a human face now. Back on Earth, the ocean base powered down for the last time. No celebration, no cheering, just peace. The old man walked through the dark hall, eyes tired. We won, the analyst whispered. The man shook his head. No, we didn't win. They just hurt us. He looked at the stars on the screen one last time and said, "Now the galaxy thinks like us. That's more than victory, that's legacy." And so, without a shot, without a fleet, without a throne, humanity rewrote the stars. One thought at a time.